This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain adult language, violence, and sexual themes, as well as shocking revelations. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I will be playing the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. We continue with our campaign, World War Cthulhu, London. It was written by Matthew Sanderson and Scott Dorward. This scenario is entitled The Meat Train. Our Keeper of Arcane Lore is Matthew Sanderson, and this is episode 2. Our recap will be given by David Gasway as his character, Melvin Spofford Harris. So without any further delays, let's continue our journey into the darkness. David?
Thank you, Tom. Yesterday evening, Anne introduced us to a pair of new assets. Another fishy Frenchman and a Jesuit with experience of things unholy. And they asked us to respond to a note from a Royal Hospital pathologist, Dr. Morris, regarding some unusual corpses that have been appearing at the morgue. As we headed across Whitechapel, the air raid sirens rang out and we ducked into the nearest shelter. It was a newer construction, noisome and cramped. There were shells landing fairly close and the shelter responded quite poorly. We were joined down there first by two men, a youth and a filthy older fellow, who seemed to be whispering together about black market doings. Barry and Davy, as we were to learn. After them, another figure came in, a strangely dressed woman with a satchel. She rather quickly produced a handgun and fired a few shots into Barry, who was thus revealed to be something distinctly inhuman. Goodale finished the thing off, and as our ears rang through the silence that followed, the woman collapsed. We found that she was heavily tattooed with insignia having to do with Goetian symbols and the like, and that she had been horribly mauled by something with claws and urgently needed treatment against infection. We learned that her name was Daggett and that she had a list of names on her person, including Barry's, and a foul bit of fluid in a tiny bottle. The monster, Jean-Claude told us, had been Barry the Hatchet, part of a notorious gang. And George told us about a text concerning what are called ghouls, so he was a bit of a double threat. Before we could take any further action, another Nazi bomb struck, and the poorly constructed shelter began to collapse. Through a gaping hole in the floor, we found a tunnel, purpose-built, and even a kind of alarm system within, designed, we realized, by ghouls, who had dug it to retrieve the occupants of a collapsed shelter and deliver their fresh corpses to the Death Eaters below. We were fortunate in knowing that the Stepney Green tube station was only about 1 mile away, due west, and we bore the unconscious woman and the terrified youth along with us in that direction. We were followed, for a while, by howling, yipping, inhuman calls, but a further collapse of the station seemed to cut them off behind us. In the relative safety of the Stepney Green station, I read in the Times that a series of shelters have collapsed recently, Mile End Road and Commercial Road in Whitechapel. We survived the night. After the all clear, we emerged, and the father sent Davy to a safe house where he could be found should we have further use for him. He knew one of the names on Daggett's list, a known forger, and may have more information for us. A weary Dr. Morris at last greeted us at the hospital, and we had a look at the cadavers that she was concerned about. They gave every sign of having been human beings who, before they died in a previous raid, were in the process of becoming ghouls themselves.
Indeed, and they didn't look particularly nice in the slightest. So we pick up with you guys down in the morgue. The door locked behind you so that no one's just going to wander in unannounced. But yeah, there's you, Dr. Morris, two bodies laid out on the slabs.
Let's um let's do a further examination to see what this transformation is really like. Um, I will suit up for like an autopsy.
Yeah, you can certainly have a probe around at them. I don't think we'll put it down to a roll because you've got got Dr. Morris there, who's already done a good examination as well, but she'll guide you through certain bits to have a look at to verify her findings.
I've also got a 75 in medicine, so
Yeah,
yeah.
you're not going to fail that. Right. Looking at different parts of the body, you can see there's key things that definitely give it away. The teeth is a big one. The teeth in each instance have become almost shark-like. They're distinctly more triangular. They're serrated. They definitely don't look human. Perfect for gnashing through meat and tearing it apart. So these would be quite
Crushing
horrible if
bone.
they did bite you. Um, Now that you've get to see those, you can probably put some two and two together where it comes with those marks that had been sliced open on the girl you've got upstairs, who I will quickly remind my name of, Daggett.
Grace,
Yep,
Grace
Grace
Daggett.
Daggett. Yeah, the claw marks that you see are starting to become more prominent on these corpses could very easily have done that. Um, she wasn't bitten, so you wouldn't. So there's no bite mark comparison. So yeah, she purely got the slash. But yeah, teeth very prominently changed. The the cranial section of the cranial part of the front part of the cranial section that is has started to distend, almost becoming snout like. But yeah, it's a horrible thing looking at these points where this must have been a painful transformation to go through. You would think it's quite extensive.
Accelerated growth of bone and stretching of skin and yeah, pushing. This would be a fascinating uh, biological thing to study. Uh, Bone doesn't usually grow that quickly, but here, I mean, you can see the teeth, the jawline, everything is, yeah, it must be
The,
painful.
the skin is admittedly working somewhat to hide this, because where normally you'd have lots of skin stretch marks that will be quite obvious, especially as skin either rapidly expands or rapidly contracts, it has those telltale lines. But because the skin has taken on a distinctly more rubbery texture, it helps to mask a lot of those normal telltale signs. So it's something that wouldn't become necessarily noticed until it becomes significantly exaggerated in its structure.
And internal organs, are they somehow becoming modified to
Yeah, for a
easily
large
digest meat? And yeah,
yeah, for a large part, it's still the same. They've got lungs, they've got a heart, the circulatory system's still intact. The main part seems to be the stomach, the bladder, the processing of material that goes into the body is what's really warping. And yeah, the stomach in particular is the big place where it's the constituents of the stomach acid fluid that's in there is very different. It's a very different color.
yeah. Oh, how bizarre. And their eyes seem to be slowly changing and developing
Yeah, almost as
nictitating
if they're
membranes. And yeah,
yeah, almost as if they're becoming more black to the point where becoming bloodshot has almost then turned the whole eye black um, rather than just being bloodshot.
they
Yeah,
can see
probably getting
very well
used
in the
to
dark, my guess.
subterranean, yeah,
Yeah.
environments.
Mhm. Yeah, there is a very faint yellow tinge that you can see that's starting to develop there, which might put Captain Goodale at a little bit of a better frame of mind, thinking that red-eyed thing that you saw saw down the tunnel, that might have just been a figment of your imagination after all. If these things have got more of a yellow tinge to their eyes.
Little
Mm.
tinge.
Now,
Could
doctor, father,
Yes,
would they be able to be dazzled by bright light because their eyes are like this?
that might work. Yes, bright lights to the eyes
Okay,
might
it's good to
dazzle
keep in
them.
mind.
Um, what else? I would like to do. I mean, I don't have really the time at the moment, but we should run up a complete pathology, see if they're suffering from some sort of bacterial infection or virus or
Mhm.
what's causing this, what's been introduced.
Uh,
Um,
This,
we
this is
won't be
where
able to detect for black magic, but we can.
Morris will kind of shrug her shoulders and say, "Unfortunately, there's only much by way of resources that I've got to play with at this time." At which point there is a knock at the door into the morgue. She she sort of looks around between the five of you, and then will go, "If you want to give me just a second,
Shall we
shouldn't we
cover up the
be?"
bodies?
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
sheet over? Yeah.
yeah. You start covering them over by the time she gets to the door. And it's not that you need to make a listen roll, but it's they talk in a relatively almost a stage whisper, quieter tone. You hear another female voice outside as Doctor Morris opens the door, and this other voice says, "Doctor, we've got another couple that have come in from Mile End, which we got word come through that they were going to be taken off to um, the local funeral parlor. But well, you told me to keep a lookout for these, and I think these match." So she turns round then to look at you five and says, uh, "One sec." She opens the door up, and there's a young lady on the other side of the door that's not dressed in hospital scrubs. Um, if anything, she looks like she's dressed more like a civilian. She's got relatively short hair, slightly round face. Uh, looks more like an office worker than someone that's working on their feet all the time in a hospital. But behind her, there are a couple of orderlies with a couple of trolleys, and she gestures to bring the trolleys in. They're directed to be left in a corner. At which point the doctor says, "Right, thank you very much. You can go now." But says, "Nancy, if you want to stay behind, you can. I think our friends here are on the same wavelength." And she nods and then locks the door behind.
Move over
Well,
to check the other bodies.
mhm. Yeah, the two that have come in, one is male, one is female. Just checking. Yes, looks like on surface resemblance there is a family resemblance between the two. So you're thinking it's probably a mother and son. The mother is in her mid-30s. The son is pretty young. You'd think he's probably no more than about 8 or 9 years old, but very similar to what you've just looked at on the two that you dragged out of the slab. Again, bloodshot red eyes, vestigial claws starting to come through, and certain teeth are starting to become a lot more serrated.
More people.
Uh, and how does it look like these were killed? Uh, just
The
crushed or
the bodies are a little bit crushed. So if looking at the lower end of the body, uh, it definitely looks like they've been caught by falling debris and they've been crushed to death. Uh, Nancy, as she was introduced, uh, coughs slightly and says, "Yeah, they were brought in from the Mile End Hospital. Apparently, they've been down there for a couple of weeks and were just being released to go to the funeral parlor. Victims of one of the bombing raids. That their house took a direct hit. The house collapsed on them while the father and the daughter were out in the Anderson shelter outside in the back garden. But these two were inside, apparently under a table inside, and they just wrong place, wrong time."
Any ID on that family?
Yes, she reaches
Address as well.
into a jacket pocket and flicks through a notepad. Says they are Martha and Kevin Graves, wife of one Eddie Graves, who lives in East End, in Mile End, in fact. So nearby to the hospital they were taken to, but obviously pronounced dead on arrival. They were pulled out of the rubble the morning after the bombing raid, so about 2 weeks ago, according to the
Two
record.
weeks ago.
Mm.
I'm wondering too if the mother and son are eating something, then the family itself might be the father and the
That's exactly right. We should check in on them.
She, Nancy kind of raises an eyebrow. Eating something?
well, this is obviously some sort of disease, and we're afraid that it might be passed on in tainted meat that people are getting through the black market.
She raises both of her eyebrows and says, "Oh, not planning on starting any kind of panic, but it's just when you say about eating meat, Mr. Graves, Eddie Graves, he's a butcher. He runs a butcher shop in Mile End."
Yeah.
Well, then he might be buying tainted meat and not realize it.
One way of
Well, he
saying
might
it.
realize it because he's got to process it and chop it up.
Maybe, but would you feed tainted meat to your family on purpose?
It'll
I
be
don't
interesting
know.
to see what Eddie looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
we'll
But
definitely have to go out
Nancy,
there.
mum's the word,
Oh,
not a word.
yeah, yeah, certainly, yeah.
Did the
I'm assuming you have the address.
Yes, she gives it to you. It is, I believe, just it's in Mile End. I think that's all the detail I've got. So insert address here. There's no specific address otherwise given.
Yeah. We'll want to visit the butcher shop, of course, as well as the private home. And the first two victims will need to know their next of kin and locale as well.
Yeah, they were pulled from the remains of the various shelters that have collapsed that were
Hmm.
already mentioned. So I believe you've got the details of those already.
It's
We'll need more.
Whitechapel and Commercial Road.
That's it.
We'll need more cases to see if we can find out if this is localized or if they're shipping this all over the city.
Indeed.
well,
Could
I
be a
assume
problem.
that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I assume that as a butcher, he was subject to the official, what's it called, regulations on rationing.
Yep, run by the
So
Ministry of Food.
yeah, so I,
It's black market, most likely.
I guess so.
And
Yeah,
if you can buy cheap meat and sell it at higher price,
but from
You
my
might-
understanding, the East End is like a very economically depressed area of London. And
Yeah,
so
it's not great.
if you're going to be black marketing, maybe you would be selling it to some people with more money, right?
It's a bit of a trade-off because the one thing that appeals to everyone at this point is rationing is pretty damn severe. So anyone will go almost try to go to any lengths to get more food. And having the opportunity for getting more food, people will pay will pay what they can. You're then tied to you've got a lot of demand, but not necessarily the means to get it. So it all depends on who's on your turf that can come to you and what they can afford. So if you're operating out of this, as you quite rightly said, this economically deprived area, you're going to be pretty much at the whims of what they can pay. But it's still going to be quite a lot of extra income that you get. They have to sell it off the books because the minute they start recording more profits and they start declaring that more meat than should be going through their system, as soon as that comes up to the Ministry of Food Inspection, then that will bring them the authorities down on them like a ton of bricks. So this all has to be done very sub rosa. It has to be done very discreetly. It has to be done very privately and completely off books because otherwise you get hammered.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin is a lawyer, so he would probably be able to tell us about the legal regulations and stuff.
Mm.
I imagine there's also some kind of like barter economy as well.
Yeah, I mean it's
People
all
pay
black
how they
market,
can.
so all
Yeah.
bets are off. It's whatever you can and whatever you can't do, or whatever you negotiate.
Well, there's not much more we can do here. These bodies, I've examined them. We can't really do tests. We don't have the resources. Um, Hopefully, there's a way to reverse this process, whatever it is. But at this point, we just need to identify the source and stop it, like the cholera plague.
Mhm.
Yes, and like most things, you should be able to reverse thing, but I don't know. I've not seen this before, so
That'll take some time and some
effort.
after the
Lots of
war,
effort.
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Gross, if you're looking at being optimistic, this is going to be a long-term problem that you've got to find some way to deal with it.
Yeah, Dr. Garst is not optimistic. He just wants to make notes in his notebook.
It could
Well,
probably fill
gentlemen,
another
shall
couple of
we?
notebooks for you.
I'll set up some protocols for how to deal with other bodies like this that come in. Um, I think they should be destroyed. They should
be cremated. Yeah.
cremated. Get rid of any germs or pathogens.
Yeah,
Um,
Dr. Morris says that is not an issue. We can get these discreetly put into the furnace, and they'll just be gone. There'll be no trace
And
of them.
if we can secure somebody who's infected that hasn't died, that would be extremely useful. But we're going to have to go do our own investigation at this point.
Little Kevin had a sister, I believe it was mentioned.
And a father.
Yeah. Again, Nancy pulls out her notebook. There's Eddie Graves, who's the father, the one who runs the butcher shop, and his young daughter Jenny.
Yeah. So the question is whether we go directly to N so that he can tap other resources.
We can send him a message telling him what's going on.
And straight to the butcher shop to make sure that that gets closed down.
Yeah.
You can give me psychology
Yes.
rolls.
Yes.
21 out of 41.
Pass.
Do you need a hard?
Oh,
No, regular's fine.
Very well.
17 out of
Yes.
50.
For sounds like you've got at least 3 passes then so far.
Yes.
Okay, let's get three pass, 2 fail. Those that pass notice that when you mention N, Nancy's eyes, both her eyebrows again go up, just in kind of surprise. But in a surprise of, oh, you work for N as well, kind of recognition.
Oh.
Do we have some kind of like passphrase we can we can say that will?
Well, there's members of the Network N or Network N auxiliaries.
Okay.
That term might not mean anything to the outsiders, but obviously to those who are clued in, they would know what it means.
All right, I'm just gonna go for it. Are you part of the network, Nancy?
Yeah, a recent addition, yes.
Keep that under your hat as well. Sorry. We
Yeah,
we
like I
shouldn't
said,
have said that in
mom's
front of you.
mom's the word.
Oh yeah, very very true. Yeah. I mean, especially after everything I've seen, that's yeah. People think I was crazy if I was going to say anything. So thankfully, it seems like we're all in the same boat here. And she looks to Constance and looks to all 5 of you.
So since we are amongst friends, the young woman that we brought in, Grace Daggett, she is, if hopefully she'll recover from her wounds. They were inflicted by one of these people after they had changed all the way.
Mhm.
There's a list of names that includes somebody who was in the shelter with us, who was not a who anymore, but a what. And so she might know a great deal more. She's also got some rather exotic occult tattoos. So we'll want to keep her from speaking out of turn during her recovery, and then, get her in contact with the network as soon as she's capable of speaking.
I can jump on that fairly quickly. If you give me a few minutes, I'll go upstairs and try and find out either where she's been taken to and what the plan of action is regarding any kind of recovery or treatment. So if you're able to hold on for a few minutes, I'll go and find that out for you.
Of course.
So she heads out. And fast forward, watching the clock montage of the clock hands tick by about 5-10 minutes. She comes back down again, locks the door behind her, going into the morgue. Right, yeah, your Daggett lady is upstairs on Ward 5. We've moved her into a fairly quiet room because her injuries are extensive. She's currently sedated. Probably won't be coming around for at least 24 hours. But yeah, they're having to hit her with a whole wide spectrum antibiotics as much as they can.
Yes,
So
that's a
it's
good thing.
yeah, it's a bit touch and go, but basically they need time to get to work. They've got her hooked up onto a couple of IVs, blood transfusion as well. It's just time. So I'd say you've got at least 24 hours before she'll be in any state to do anything. But hopefully
Okay.
by that point, if we do need to forcefully revive her, we could do, but it would still be risky. But she looks like her prognosis is good. She looks like she is going to pull through.
That's good. I take out some handcuffs and give them to Nancy. Please handcuff her to the bed.
Yeah, we can. I can institute. Basically, there's some paperwork we can put in here that says that she is currently,
Under investigation.
is effectively held in police custody, which will then make sure that her restraints aren't removed for any reason.
Great.
Yeah, we don't think she's hostile, but she might be very afraid.
She might be a flight risk.
Yeah, exactly.
So, off to the butcher shop and
Yeah.
maybe phone N first, because I think the legwork on N's side is if the shelters were intentionally built to collapse, then we have a network of people, well, perhaps two different kinds of people who are involved in this conspiracy. And if it is, and I sort of look at the others, like, if the meat in question is what we think it is, then this is an intentional activity. So we have to figure that out. Do these creatures, Dr. Gross, want to expand their community?
Like most groups of people, if we're going to treat them as people, they have that sense of community, but they seem to stick underground. They stick in packs. They are like animals almost.
But if they're human mutants of some sort, they may not be able to reproduce naturally.
Yes, which is where the whole exposed meat might come into play there. That's how they get new members of the pack. But I I worry that they may not all be as dangerous as we let on, but these new ones that are being born might be quite dangerous because they are not aware of the world that
It
they
might
are
be
part
mental
of.
deterioration over time too.
Yes.
Now, I'll let Dr. Gross do an int roll because you passed your mythos roll earlier. I don't want to hide this behind a very low percentile pay grade, but I'll give you an int roll to potentially think of something else that will be food for thought.
Meat for
Yeah.
thought.
I can
Going vegetarian
71.
for this operation.
Okay.
62 out of 75, so I passed.
You know quite rightly that ghouls exist underground. You said that they're very much like animals. Yeah, they don't reproduce in the kind of normal sense of the word. You don't like give birth to a baby ghoul, but there are stories that kind of maybe conflict that, because there are stories of changelings that its ghouls leave got babies. They take babies and then replace them with ghoul babies. So maybe there is some kind of line of thinking goes off in your brain about, well, maybe there are actually ghoul babies after all. But anyway, that's a side issue. Part of expanding their flock or expanding their pack, something about that just kind of niggles at the back of your head. If they exist under graveyards, that's a very finite food supply. Now, admittedly, the war is giving them a hell of a lot more of a food supply because there's a hell of a lot more people dying. But before the war, yeah, there's something that's got niggling at the back of the thing. This is something that just doesn't fit. That they've normally got a finite supply of bodies in a graveyard. Expansion or overexpansion could be a really dangerous thing for them. It runs the risk of being discovered almost exponentially. So, what? There's some factor that you don't have yet. There's some missing hole in the jigsaw puzzle that doesn't explain why they would want to expand.
There is definitely. I fear there might be something else at play with them because it just doesn't. I'll pretend I've just said everything that the voice in my head has said. It's just something that doesn't fit together with how their behavior and what we know and understand about these creatures. And there might be someone else or something else at play here that might be influencing them, just like if you insert a different alpha male into a pack of animals, they tend to change and shift in behavior. So,
I mean, it also seems, doesn't it, that, I mean, we would say that something shouldn't use up its own resources so quickly. But
yes.
humans do that. We're stupid.
Yeah,
So maybe they're not so intelligent, but
true, but with a finite amount of resources from graveyard means they can survive on a small amount of food. So even though there's, I feel there is external forces and it's playing on their weak minds, as you say, they are probably not as intelligent as we are, so it's something more intelligent influencing them.
we also know that at least some of them that are suspects of the people on the list may be a criminal element, and criminals like money. So it might be just pure greed that they're
But
exploiting the situation.
where there's criminals, there's someone in charge. There's always someone running the racket. So is this someone
Are
who
we thinking
is
of Mayor Fellick? Mayor Fellick?
Did get a bit about him as because this was only less than an hour ago in game time.
He's the
That
forger.
he was the forger that Reed told you about, but you did get the name of the guy who runs the gang.
Yeah, that'd be Ronnie Shepherd, right?
That's him.
Well,
Ronnie Shepherd.
to your point, Dr. Gross, it seems like we could, if we wanted to, pretty easily, if this is not even already underway, get some sort of investigation into these shelters to shut them down. I mean, this is like a big problem. It's happened quite a bit. I mean, faulty shelters is like that's priority number one. So I don't think it would be that difficult to get investigators out to investigate them and shut them down. However, if we did do that, it would be diminishing the food supply, which might make these creatures more desperate and more willing to go out onto the surface and sort of get their food themselves. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think there's a strong thing there that you've pointed out. The shelters are faulty. They've been purposefully designed to be faulty. So who got commissioned to build them? Obviously, that's
someone
they're
with a
also
bit of
guilty.
power. Someone with
My
a bit of
gut's
power
telling
and
me
influence.
Ronnie's attached to this.
And in reality, where there's some head honcho tends to have ties with government officials and various hands in various pockets, so it's possible, and it would make sense with how these shelters have got away with not being met to code.
Well, let's find
Maybe
out the
you've got a
construction companies that constructed these faulty shelters. If it's
Yes.
all of them that are faulty from the same company, then we have a lead.
Well, that's what I want Ed to be working on while we go and stop our friend Eddie from selling any more ghoul patties.
Yep, that sounds good.
I'm quite happy to say that have a montage sequence of you contacting N, giving him a quick brief, and then putting through that request to him. He says, I will be able to contact you back. Just give me you can either contact me directly, or if you want to give me a number, I can call you, maybe liaise through Dr. Morris, that I can get word back to you at a certain time. I don't think that should take too long to find, because all the contractors that have built these things will be on record, so it should just be a case of me making a few phone calls and getting that info myself.
Could N also confirm Nancy's allegiance and
Yes,
role in the network?
Yep, certainly can.
Okay.
This is more of a case of a happy accident, it seems like. She was down at Camden Tube Station when there was an attack by these things down there. So it looks like she had some experience of these things and was having a look into some, again, supporting evidence to support what she had experienced. And it happens that the same things that I've been told about by Morris end up being the same things that she's looking into.
Okay.
So I've effectively got two teams, admittedly one a one-person team, and yourself was working on the same problem. So I can probably relocate Nancy to do something else.
Whatever you think is best, then.
Yeah, she's fairly new to this, so yeah, be gentle with her.
We can hope. Yes, hopefully our authorization cards will allow us to shut down the butcher shop if it's still open and detain Eddie.
Yeah, I don't see why they shouldn't. I mean, that's what they're there for.
Do we know anything about how Barry was managing to appear like a filthy human and not like a thing that would frighten people on the street?
Yes, that's a very particularly nasty piece of dark magic that these things can perform. In the bluntest term, he would have the thing that was masquerading as human would have had to eat the human that they then posed as, and then once they've eaten them, they can then take their form and masquerade as them.
So Barry the Hatchet hasn't always been this.
No.
Right.
The original Barry is probably in that thing's stomach for quite a while.
Well, that also explains why a husband would feed his wife bad meat, because that wouldn't be the husband at all.
No, I don't think we're going to be arresting Eddie.
Now that Daggett, she had the balm, that ointment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put that to the test.
Well, yes. Well, I don't know how long it lasts, so I guess we'll wait until we're at the butcher's shop. But whoever's brave enough to rub a little eye juice on their face.
Currently, I have it on me because I was so.
Yeah, maybe it still works.
For science.
Okay, great. That's fine. You tell me where to point my gun.
Indeed, for science, I will do it. Well, I say science. For the unknown, I guess.
Knowledge. Right. It sounds like you're heading off to the butcher's in Mile End. Is that what you've decided upon? Because you do have quite a few leads that you can potentially follow. So this is where it gets very sandboxy for you.
Well, I think cutting off the source of the taint is the first priority.
Yeah, I think so
There
too.
are,
And then we
yeah,
can
there
look
are.
into Meyer Fellick and everyone else.
You can look into that. We can look into the manufacturers. Well, he's N is looking into that for us. Who's built the shelters? Um, Grace Daggett's not going to be awake until tomorrow. Did
But
she have any ID on her?
Captain Goodale got it, which did include her address because I did mention that
Her
she has
address.
a place. It's a small one-bedroom flat in Wilmot Place, Islington.
Oh, we should check that out before she wakes up, which is good.
Yeah. So there's that too. Can't think of anything else.
And Rika and Ronnie. Is it Ronnie?
Yeah,
Yes.
look into Meyer Fellick, look into Ronnie Shepherd.
Would it be a bad idea to split up? A group goes to the butcher shop, a group goes to
I
Grace's apartment.
Yeah, this is
I
fine by me.
No,
I'm not gonna let Melvin go alone to the butcher shop though.
I
Well,
I
obviously.
well
think there's less
I will go butchers because I will do the eye thing. So
there's less danger, I think, at Grace's apartment than there would be at the butcher shop, but there might be considerable danger at the butcher shop. So make sure you
I
go armed.
Don't you worry about that.
We have 24 hours to look at her apartment. We
I
want
don't,
to
yeah.
address the public-facing thing first, but there might be occult material at her apartment that Dr. Gross should see.
Yeah, maybe we do both. We do it all together. We do the butcher shop together. We do the apartment together. Then we can split up and cover the interviewing of things.
Yeah,
Well, keep in
Interviewing of
mind we don't
people.
really have 24 hours if bombs are gonna drop every night.
Yes.
right. Let's go quickly. Maybe we can do them both in the space of a couple of hours.
I guess when we're on the phone with Anne, we should ask about any preparations for the rather high likelihood that we're going to enter a firefight with Eddie Graves at his butcher shop. We need to do some public relations preparation.
I mean, he can give the constabulary forewarning, basically to say that if people start calling in to say, hey, there's been a gunfight taking place here, that he can make sure they're forewarned. But it will still have to be that you would be taken into custody, and then what, at least for sake of it looking like the authorities are still doing their job, and then you'd probably be released when you get to the police station.
All right,
So
yes.
if you do have people turn up and try to arrest you, go along with it. We'll get you out of there afterwards. But
Of
that will
course.
still involve me pulling some strings. I'd prefer it doesn't get to that. So if you can avoid a gunfight, even better.
Quite so. All right, we're off.
Right. This is where we have a maybe like a T-bone steak does its Batman impression of going to the screen and back out again. But montage sequence, you find yourself at this lovely little butcher shop in Mile End. It's a mostly residential area here. This is one of those instances where you've got lots of old Victorian terrace houses with buildings on the corners of which have been converted into businesses. So you've got things like corner shops occasionally, and then local bakeries that are all set up in these kind of places. And this one is the Graves Butcher Shop. And yeah, it looks like a standard shop. You've got a glass frontage with displays, most of which are fairly spartanly furnished. So there's not much on offer that it doesn't feel odd that this feels like a normal, typical butcher shop while rationing is in effect. And you can see there are a couple of people coming in and out. The shop is open as people have to make hay while the sun shines, quite literally now, because as has been quite rightly pointed out, you don't have 24 hours. The bombing rays do tend to cut the day short somewhat. So there are patrons which are already inside coming and going. And you can see behind the counter, dressed in typical white apron, with again somewhat of a slightly rounded face. Definitely slightly on the more heavier set side, but otherwise neat hair going back behind him. A nice portly gentleman in his mid-30s that is quite happily tending to his local customers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. What does Dr. Gross see?
well, before I had entered, I would have gone along with popping of the
Okay.
ointment. I will refer to it as the ointment.
No, that is exactly what it's called. Has a more elaborate title, but it is ointment of something, something, something. But yeah, you daub this stuff on. I'm just gonna check to see if there's any roll for it, but I think it's just you apply it from memory. Uh, yep, you just apply it. So, yeah, this is maybe if you've had the unlucky experience of not having showered or washed for a couple of days, that your skin gets greasy and then your eyes start stinging, and then whenever you try and wipe your eyes, it just spreads that grease around and makes your eyes sting even more. It's that amplified up, but with a very distinctly horrible smell of rotting meat and dead flesh as you pop this foul smelling stuff onto both your top and lower lower
My top
eyelids.
as well. Let's go.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just this greasy, horrible, almost slightly stinging sensation when it starts to get into your eyes. And yeah, you start to look around, and everything appears fairly normal until you see the guy behind the counter, and then it's this weird effect. You have to end up blinking a few times because you're not too sure if this is your imagination or if this is something you're actually seeing. But imagine that you're looking at him or a recording of him that's been made on Cinefilm, that's then had another copy of that footage laid on top of it, and they're not quite running at the same speed. So you're almost seeing him with an overlay of him, but the overlay isn't quite right. You're seeing maybe a slightly extended snout like feature of a face. The teeth are a little bit more protruded. The eyes are distinctly blacker. There's something that's there and something that's saying that this man is distinctly wrong, but it's not. It doesn't feel like a completely solid reading. But
Well,
it's
he's
definitely
different than everybody else.
yeah. But he is the only one that you can see around you that is giving you any kind of indication of being odd. Everyone else looks perfectly normal, but he definitely something is there.
I will discreetly, I'll probably whisper to Good Air out because it would look odd if I'm whispering to everyone. Um,
Well, we're waiting for your judgment anyway,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of side eye. How many local folk are in the shop when we ring the little jingly bell?
Let fate decide. There are 3 other people inside, and as you're taking in the scene, you swear you hear the sound of a dog howling from somewhere deeper in the shop.
hmm. I give. Let's just say I was like blink once for his or blink twice or whatever, and I give the signal, and that there is something distinctly odd about this man.
Gross. I think you should case out the entire shop. See if that dog howling in the back is actually a dog.
I'm going to begin to steer the regular customers out discreetly. I'm going to approach the first, I'm assuming a middle-aged lady with with a bag over her arm.
Times 3, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll approach them one at a time and say, "Excuse us," and I'll do the quick flash of the card sort of thing and say, "Sorry to tell you, we concerned about the quality of the meat that Mr. Graves is providing, and we're going to be closing the shop. It might be, a mistake. It might be a rumor, but we're going to actually need to close the shop. So if you'll just step outside."
Oh, yeah, good. Oh dear, oh dear. And yeah, they are quickly ushered out without any disturbance.
When I get the third one, I assume there's a visible latch.
Yes, there is.
Oh, it's locked.
Yeah.
Flip it to
Yeah.
closed.
Yep.
At which point, yeah, the guy behind the counter looks a little bit kind of perplexed, And maybe for the rest of you, because he kind of takes in his stride that dog howl from you think you've actually pinned it down that there is an interior door which goes deeper into the building. That you could hear a couple of scratching noises at the door. It's kind of disconcerting how it suddenly changes from being a howl midway through a howl, change almost to like, ow, ring a roses, a pocket full of posies, and a young girl is singing a nursery rhyme in the next room.
Okay.
Well, well, the jig is up. We've told him. I mean, he sees us lock the door.
So
Yeah,
are we
he's
just like dealing with him or?
Well, talk to him. Maybe, like I say, maybe he doesn't even realize it. But
Oh,
Mr.
his opening gambit will be, I take it from having locked the door there, you've come for some extra goods.
Mr. Graves, we have got it from on good word that you have, yes, some meats that are not available to the general population.
I may have. As he says that, you can all give me spot hidden rolls.
Right. And I'll sort of pull some cash out of my pockets as I say that to try to look less scary.
I did not pass.
I have a regular only.
Extreme.
Okay, this is fairly discreet, so definitely the father will get it. Definitely,
I also got
Dr. Gross
extreme.
will get it. Oh, and the three of you get it then. I've made a very definite point of kind of going, and kind of opening my mouth wide because you get a good view of his teeth. You've just seen some teeth like this on the slab.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna continue to try to sweet talk him because if we can take him alive, it would be better.
You find out where he gets the meat from. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I may have some extra stuff for those of you that if you've run out of some ration coupons, maybe.
I'm particularly interested in anything that might still be around from the commercial road shop.
He looks a little confused. I don't deal with anyone from Commercial Road.
Oh, I thought it was sort of a consortium.
No, he looks genuinely confused at that.
Well, I don't know if you have any samples available of what is at hand.
Oh, yeah. One second. He goes bends down and goes under the counter, and you can hear him opening up a sliding door under the cabinet. And then one hand comes up for him to then pull himself up by, and he pulls himself up, holding a package. Basically, it's wrapped in brown butcher's meat paper. And he looks out of the window just almost to make sure that no passers-by get a good view of this. But he opens it up as discreetly as he can do, and there is a great big side of bacon in there. It doesn't look particularly appetizing, but as if it started to go off. But it is. You think it would be edible?
Mm-hmm. It would pass. Yeah, it looks like you've got the real stuff, all right.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we're able to. I've been able to get it so cheap is because it is starting to go to the point where it would be getting ready to be thrown out. But I'm sure. I mean, I eat it myself. It's perfect. It's perfectly fine. I'll cook it thoroughly. Me and my daughter have been enjoying this for a good few weeks now. But yeah, my poor wife, dear, lost. Bless her soul, and he crosses himself, and son.
It's a terrible thing, war. It's a damned thing.
War is hell. So the sooner this is all over, the better, and we can hopefully get back to normal. But until then, we have to make do. And yeah, thankfully I've been able to find a way that can get some literally some more meat onto people's plates.
I mean, not to be tactless, but what's your source?
Who's your supplier?
We don't want to be eating anything that's like, I don't know,
It,
gross.
yeah. He looks a little bit he kind of gulps when you mention that. Well, I don't think they'd really like me uh saying where it comes from. I mean, and also on a kind of mercenary front, what's to stop you from just going straight to them?
Oh, you mean Ronnie?
Who?
Never
You can give
mind.
me a psychology roll.
Okay. Oh, I'm close. Oh, 23, under 41.
You are convinced that is a completely 100% genuine reaction. He does not know who Ronnie is.
Okay. I say never mind.
I mean, you don't have to tell us specifics, but just tell us like generally.
It comes from a reputable firm. That's I think all I'm willing to say. Unless you want to push that with with a persuade roll, perhaps, or
Actually, could
if
I
you want to
spend down to a
intimidate,
hard?
maybe. Hmm?
Could I spend down to a hard on that psychology?
Uh, I've already given you the fact that
Oh,
really
okay.
you
All
don't
right.
know
Very
Ronnie.
well.
It's yeah, he doesn't. So there's nothing else to gain by burning luck. That's mainly.
Understood.
I'm I'm going to pull the Jesuit priest card since he crossed himself.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, listen, my son, these are hard times, and we know that there are difficulties, but uh, considering that, your wife and son were recently killed, you must be thinking about your own mortality and the life of your child. Um, if you want me to hear your confession, I can't reveal it to anyone. Uh, if you feel like you've violated, however much you might seem that's justified at these hard times. But let me take you aside and we'll have a little talk.
Mm. Okay, I'll give you a persuade with a bonus die because you're appealing to his religious nature, because there is something he will potentially throw in there.
His
If you see.
Okay.
humanity.
Fail and pass. 24 out of 30. So just a regular. But
Okay,
I
well,
could spend
that's
9
good.
points if
If
you
you
want
want
a
to spend
hard.
9, I will give you something extra on it.
I'll spend 9 points.
Mhm. Okay, right. In which case he kind of gulps, but again, in almost like a stage whisper, he leans in almost conspiratorially to you and says, "Yeah, I'm hoping you can help me. That it's obviously nothing can be done now for my wife or my son, but maybe for their eternal spirits, perhaps, and their souls. But my daughter needs some kind of help. I mean, I and he looks towards that door where again you hear this kind of scratching noise on the other side of the door. I just don't know what to do, and I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's befallen her, but he just shakes his head and I'm at a loss, Father. I just don't know, and I'm hoping I was thinking if I can at least get food out to folks that need it, maybe I'd be earning some brownie points with him upstairs.
Well, your intentions are good, but it seems to me like you and your whole family have been exposed to something.
E-
Um,
Exposed?
could it be this meat that you're selling? You're getting it from the black market, yes?
Well, kind of. I mean, it's actually the same supply that we use for all of our meat that comes in. So everything we sell regularly to the folks for as part of the normal rations, and just the extra stock that we get from them. It all comes from the same place. So Wilson's Meat Supplies.
I suppose. Right.
But yeah, they we just have an agreement with them that they get some extra stock that comes in from, I think they said somewhere in Essex. I think it comes in through. and that
But
then I buy it on a cheap, like really dirt cheap, because like I said, it's almost the point where it should be getting rid of and disposed because it's getting old. But like I said, I've cooked it through thoroughly. I mean, I've eaten it, my family's eaten it. It seems perfectly fine if you just cook it and season it properly. There's no issues.
and what's wrong with your daughter? Is she
She's I don't know if it's growing pains, but she's having temper tantrums.
mother and brother just died?
Mm, yeah, maybe. She's very possessive about her dolly.
Perhaps you can show us.
Yeah, okay. And
Is that
she's
her in the back? Do we hear?
yeah, yeah. He looks almost ashamed as he nods. Yeah,
I give a glance back to everybody in the room, eyebrows raised. Um, this isn't really breaking the confessional, but he's concerned that his daughter is quite ill. Uh, Wants to know if there's anything we can do.
I am I know a lot about unusual illnesses, so I could have a look. I am a
Look,
doctor. Yes.
oh, I'm glad to hear it because I mean I'm at my wit's end. I mean my poor wife and my son were going through a similar kind of they were starting to show similar kind of signs of this. I know very short temper before they before what happened, and you can see he's starting to hold back some tears as he does so, and his eyes are going a
Um,
bit more bloodshot as he
I
tries to hold them back.
I don't mean to upset you any further, sir. Have you been experiencing any symptoms like
Um,
what you're seeing?
he he stumbles a bit before he answers, so I'll let those of you that had your pass on your psychology roll earlier. He is holding something back when he says, "I don't think so." But you're getting a feeling that that's more like he's trying to delude himself rather than actually lie to you.
Uh, for it just I don't want to scare you. It's more I just want to get a. As I said, I'm a doctor of unusual. I deal with unusual cases. You see. Have you noticed anything like maybe when you bite into something, you're biting into it almost like uh, your mouth is a knife. Your teeth. It makes it easier to eat meat.
The color starts to flash out of him a little bit at that, and he almost he almost looks through you, and as he focuses on a particular memory that he's been trying to deny and trying to repress. As well, I was cutting up some of the supplies, some of the extra supplies, and I dropped a bit a piece of sausage that I thought had gone off. I it fell on the floor, and I went to pick it up, and I couldn't help myself. I just ate it raw, and I remember it tasting so good, but it was still raw,
Oh, okay, okay.
and I
I
remember it.
think
Yeah, just going down so easy that it just sliced up like I was putting it through a slicer,
uh,
just
I
gliding down my throat.
I I can imagine it's quite a shocking thought and revelation for yourself.
You can see him salivating at this. You can almost see the drops of saliva starting to
Yeah,
run down the corner of his mouth.
how is your hearing and your smell?
Um, he kind of moves his armpits up
No,
when you say
not
smell.
not.
But
How is your sense of smell? Do
oh,
you?
I mean, I'm kind of nose blind. I think is how the folks say it. That because I'm used to the
Okay.
smell of the butcher. It's a very particular odor that these kind of places have. You see,
Okay.
About light sensitivity.
Yes.
I hadn't noticed anything in particular.
What about when you first uh are exposed to going from dark to light straight away? How
Oh yeah,
anything?
yeah. I mean, it hurts, but that's probably I just put that down to the fact it's all the blackout curtains that we've had to have
Yeah,
installed and
that's
sleeping all night
um,
in the shelter. I mean, we've had to be sleeping in the shop, the place above the shop after our home's been turned into a pile of rubble. So,
okay. If you don't mind, I, me and the father here and our friend I point to Goodell, uh, just like to see your daughter. My good friends Ponto, Melvin, and Jean-Claude will might just need to ask you a few more questions, but we would just like to see your daughter so I can just know what we're dealing with in
uh,
terms of illness.
Just before that happens, I want to kind of turn my back to the guy so that I'm facing Captain Oswald and say, do you think we should level with him? What we suspect?
No.
Yeah, and I'll turn back casually as if nothing just happened. Yes, we need to see your daughter.
yeah, Eddie at this point just says, "No, yeah, if anything you can do to help her, I just, I realize I'm just out of my depth. I can't deal with this myself anymore."
I have dealt with some extremely difficult cases. I will
Mm,
do my best for your daughter. And I might need to have a frank conversation with yourself a bit later on. Uh,
mhm.
okay. Uh,
Yeah, like I said, I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done. So, right, he walks over to the door. He pulls a key from his pocket, opens it, unlocks it, and then the door swings open. And sat on the floor, not too far back from the door, in this lovely little white dress with blue piping and a blood stain around the collar where it looks like something has splattered onto her neck and then running down one side of her mouth because her lips are all cut up. As when she grins, this lovely little 6-year-old girl with these lovely little braided pigtails that go down the back of her head, her face, or at least her lips, are kind of cut to ribbons as these lovely shark-like teeth have started to rip through the front of her face, and
yes.
there's just blood spattered all down her front. But looks like something juicy hit the front of her dress fairly recently, and she's just sat there playing with a little wooden doll.
And do I see anything different compared to what I saw with Eddie?
The same thing. It's not that she's hiding. It's not like she's got consume likeness active, but you're seeing something that is overlaid. That it's kind of flickering, like it's not quite there. It's
It's like changing a metamorphosis almost. Mm,
exactly that. Yeah, this isn't a magical effect that you're seeing through. It's you're identifying a transformation in progress.
yes. As I suspected. Okay. I get Erasmus and Oswald too close to me. We're going to have to be a little careful here. This
Is
looks
there
quite
anything unusual about the
dangerous.
doll?
Apart from that, it's also got some blood stains around from the hands. She's kind of holding it with these slightly clawed hands as well. That it's got some, as if she's tried to smear a bloody finger around the mouth, as if she's been trying to force something into the mouth.
How do you want to deal with this, Dr. Gross?
But she just looks up at you and grins.
What was her name again? He did say, but what was
Jenny.
her name?
Jenny.
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 Yep.
Okay. I think we just talk to begin with, see what we're dealing with. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
Um, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Uh, I've heard you've been under the weather recently. You say I'm a doctor.
No, no, I haven't seen a doctor for a long, long time. I know I normally don't get particularly ill.
Oh, that's I'm just here. With everything going on, with out there with the bomb, I will just do our routine checks. You see, I've got a couple of people with me. We're just checking, and just want to make sure you're okay. You seem to have a little bit of blood on you. Are you okay?
I just I I just dropped some food I was eating. That was all.
What have you been eating, Jenny, recently? Just
Oh, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
can have you been eating recently?
Well, I've eaten it now. And she
Uh,
taps her stomach and leaves a red,
okay.
got a slightly partial bloody handprint on her belly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Um, I obviously I'm just observing her as I'm talking to her.
Mm.
Um, have you been feeling hungry more frequently recently?
Hmm. She nods quite vehemently at that. Yeah, both me and Dolly here, we've both been very, very hungry.
You've been trying to feed Dolly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Okay.
holds the dolly up to the side of her head and as if motioning as if to speak. So yeah, she says she's very hungry too. Hmm.
She's okay.
You
Yes.
want,
Well,
you want,
dollies tend to get hungry.
do you want to see Dolly? She holds it up towards you.
Oh, of course. I'm going very carefully here, but I am gonna get that dog. So I just wanna, um,
Do you actually reach out to touch it?
I'm go I'm gonna almost half because I want to see how she reacts. So I'm not fully going. I'm not gonna touch it, but I'm gonna move a bit closer as if I'm going to, but I'm stopping. So I want to see how she reacts.
Give me a very good psychology roll then to kind of read what her reaction is.
Okay, that's um, I've got 50 in psychology, so it's a 50-50 chance. Yeah. Uh, okay. I don't have much luck as it is, but I'm gonna spend the 5 luck to succeed.
I'll tell you now, a regular success won't be enough. You want really get to hard or better.
No, yeah,
So
no,
if you want to
then
save your luck, then
I will save my luck.
okay, then just by reaching out, you're thinking that yeah, she's not going to have any adverse reaction to this at all. That no alarm bells are ringing.
To my um, I don't, as I said, I'm just getting slightly closer. I'm not touching the doll at all.
Okay,
I'm
you do
just
so then.
And
uh,
can I say that standing kind of behind him, I've got my hand on his, like the back of his shirt, so I can yank him back if something
Uh-huh.
happens.
Okay,
Jenny, are you okay with me getting closer?
yeah, course I am. Why wouldn't I be?
Uh, okay, now I'm going. What's her mouth doing?
Uh, you can see she's just slightly open, but it's more that it's cutting at her lips, and you can see kind of the blood welling between the teeth that you can see.
Any saliva?
There's plenty of blood masking whatever saliva there is.
Okay.
I'm behind Dr. Gross.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to take another small step forward. I'm just edging myself, but I'm.
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't react. She's just still holding out the doll to you.
She's a little
Jenny,
girl, Gross.
why don't you pop Dolly down and I will pick her up?
Her eyes open rather wide at that. Why would you want me to put Dolly down?
This is what I wanted out of it. That's why I said that. Okay, Jenny. What, what's you don't want to let go of Dolly, so what's wrong with Dolly then?
Nothing's wrong with Dolly. Dolly's mine. Dolly's perfect. Dolly's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You can see her body language is starting to alter, that she's very much going on the defensive.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Now, I sort of want to. I want to do another psychology roll. I want to do my own. I don't know because if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is sort of what. Because I failed the other one. I sort of wanted to get her in an agitated state to see her reaction. Um. Uh. Okay. 28. Spend the free look. It's a hard. If I. Okay.
Hey,
There we go.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're now that you've got this little peek behind the curtain, it does make it a little bit easier to read her. Yeah, she's on a hair trigger. You do one thing that doesn't conform to how she wants something to go. She will fly at you, and particularly around revolving around that doll. You have maybe that thought that if you had touched the doll, and maybe if you'd taken it away a bit more forcefully, or a bit that just she didn't like it, she would maybe think you were trying to hurt the doll and would have lashed out at you quite severely.
Yes. Which is why I wasn't going to take the doll. Um. Okay. So, Jenny, I'm just, there's nothing wrong with Dolly. I'm not going to do anything to harm Dolly. Um, okay. What's, what would you like to do? We're here to just see how you are, and maybe we can help you and Dolly.
What do you mean help? We don't need help. What do you think I need help? And she starts yelling.
Yeah,
And
that's fine.
as she starts yelling, there's some parts of her voice just starts to break, and it's not so much a screeching, but almost like a wailing and like a yipping or barking sound.
Because I know I can feel Father Erasmus on my, and I'm worried about a hearing being if the hearing is good, but I think
I'm keeping an eye on her father now too.
He
I
behind you, because everyone's been focused on the girl. You can see he's starting to quake a bit and starting to ball his fists up, and he starts pounding one fist against the other, going, "Why can't I do anything about this? Why can't I do anything?" And you can see that kind of rage starting to build up in him as well.
I'll make
Um,
sure that Oswald knows that.
Yeah, well, I haven't gone into the back room, so he's tensing up. I'll be like, well, while they're chatting with your daughter, Mr. Graves, we can complete our business over here. I think we got to this bit just in time.
He looks up at you, and when he opens his eyes, they are again that's that very very bloodshot red, but tinged with yellow.
Yeah, so this stuff does seem to be near the edge of its use-by date, but as everyone's struggling out there, right? We're all having a very difficult time, suffering various losses. It's an awful business. But speaking of business,
When you say the word loss, that does his expression does start to change a bit as he maybe his thoughts get taken back to more sorrow rather than anger. And again, you can see tears start to well up in those eyes again.
why don't you have some meat? Calm yourself down a little bit.
It almost seems like it's just this penny drop moment that happens behind his eyes. Yeah, why don't I? I mean, I've got more. There's more where this came from. And before he even finishes a statement, he just drops to his knees and then just starts to devour this hunk of almost semi-rotten meat. There's this sickening sound as he starts to tear through this side of bacon.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull my gun out, but not shoot him
Whoa.
yet.
He's oblivious. He's got face full of meat, so he doesn't see you do it.
Is
um
Jenny like also joining in because the meat's there and
Well, she's in the back. She's in the
oh,
back room
okay.
with you
I
guys.
should
in
have to
quite
go
see it.
through
the
us.
doorway between you and her, but she'll hear it for sure.
Hopefully not
I've
literally gross.
I, I I think we're going to, I think this is a lost cause, Father. I'm afraid I don't think we can
I
do
don't know what
much.
cause you're talking about, but if we can study this, I think she's going to eat you if she can.
I think we just keep trying to see how. I
And
want to see an actual reaction.
I think that Eddie is, they seem to be not in control of their impulses.
Okay. I'm gonna do something that might back. I'm not gonna take the doll from her, but I'm gonna. Hey, Jenny. You know, as I said, I am a doctor. I think Dolly is very sick, and I need to l check on Dolly.
Her eyes go very slowly,
Yeah.
just go wide and wider and wider. What's wrong with my dolly?
Well, why don't you have a look at your Dolly? Look, she's not very well. Look at her.
Yeah, there's a concerned look. She looks down, focuses entirely on the doll. But Dolly said she was fine.
I think Dolly might be hiding her true thoughts. You see, when people are sick, we tend to lie to the people we love to make them feel a bit better. And I think Dolly might have done that to you.
Her head snaps up ridiculously quick to the point where you almost think you hear something snap. It tilts to one side, and you hear this almost hissing, spittling through the blood coming out from her broken lips. Are you saying my dolly's alive? You nasty, nasty man! And she tries to throw herself at you.
Okay, this is
What's your dex?
um quite high. 65. Probably not as high as this little girl.
You are 3 points faster than she is. So
Well,
academic.
I yank him out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and
Academic
also
kid.
I was my gun is still there, but this might backfire.
Oh, you got a
Well,
gun.
something might fire.
Oh, nice.
Well, you get to go first. You can see she is she is lunging at you with evidently what look like these clawed hands.
I think I think even though Father Erasmus is pulling me back, I think I am just gonna have to try and quick draw and shoot, which is not something I wanted to do, but I did
Okay.
want this reaction as well.
Normally, I'd say that if you're trying to quick draw and fire, that would be a penalty die. But you are as close to point blank as you can possibly get, so that will cancel out the penalty die. So give me a firearms handgun roll.
Okay. Uh, 39 out of 40, so that's just a regular.
It's regular. Roll damage.
I can't. For some reason, my damage isn't on my sheet, so I can't remember.
If it's
I'll just
a
go
regular
ahead.
handgun, I'd probably say it's like a Webley, so D10.
Okay. As per usual with my any kind of these D10 rolls, 4.
Oh, 4. Okay. Yeah, you put a bullet straight through her upper chest, so you probably puncture a lung. And she still keeps coming. Right. She's gonna try and bite your throat out. So
Well,
stop that nasty man from being able to say lies about her precious dolly. If you haven't got a
well,
throat,
it's
you
just
can't tell lies.
that's true.
Right. Do you want to try and dodge or fight back?
I think at this point, dodging and Father Erasmus is sort of helping me by pulling me back. But,
Okay. She is a kid. She is very ineffectual at what she does. So she goes. She tries to jump on your throat, and apparently is just just snapping away.
I succeeded in my dog rolls. So
Yeah, you
Like a
just try that away
chihuahua.
then. So her fail, your success. Yeah, she just starts snapping at the floor.
I'm just like Oswald.
I think at that point we'll go into full dex order, so everyone can get.
I'm
involved
slow.
in
I'm 45
action.
decks.
I'm 75.
Who has a readied firearm out at this point?
I did not.
Right, so it's just
Jean-Claude.
Gross and Jean-Claude. Are either of you planning on using it? So you get, remember, you add 50 to your dex?
Yes.
I will be continuing to use it because, yeah. Otherwise, my
Okay,
throat is going to be gone.
So that will be 65 plus 50, because then it's versus Jean-Claude. You're on 45 normally, so that would be up to 95. So yeah, Dr. Gross goes first.
No, nice.
What's your dex?
Well, I'm just going to shoot.
Yeah,
Shoot,
Dr. Gross's
I would
base dex is
shoot 3
65,
times.
whereas Jean-Claude's is 45. So his base dex breaks the tie there.
Oh, you're having them go first because they've got guns?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should probably shoot 3 times
Yeah.
because you're at point blank.
Yeah, you might as well make a straight roll, 3 straight rolls rather than one with bonus die.
Yeah, I'll do
Okay,
three
you want a
straight.
pumper full of lead?
Yep. Hang on, that might actually be a hard.
It's
a
only
first
extreme
one.
that you need to worry about because that's the only one that will do extra
Yeah.
damage.
Well, that's a success on one of them.
Mhm.
Fail and success.
Okay, so 2 hits, so 2d10 separately.
9 and 7.
Okay. Well, your first hit pretty much gets her straight through the throat. There's a spray of blood that goes out behind her, and the second one catches her just beneath the eye, and promptly brain matter flies out from behind her. There's this stunned look on her face for a moment, as if she suddenly realizes, shit, I'm dead, and then slumps onto you with most of her head contents sprayed all over the wall behind her. But yeah, she's very, very, very dead now. And next up would then be Jean-Claude on 95.
Yeah, as soon as I hear Gross fire a shot, I'm just going to execute the butcher.
Again, the shop is small enough that you can be within point blank. Are you doing one single shot, or are you emptying 3 into him?
I'll just do 3 to the back of the head while he's leaning over his meat.
Give me three regular shots then.
Got his last meal.
I got 1 success, 1 fail, and 1 extreme success.
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
Do the regular one. Do the regular one first.
All right, regular one is 10 damage.
Ugh, okay. And the impale?
Impale is 4 plus whatever
10.
the impaling bonus
14.
is. Yeah, 10.
14, so that's 24 points in total. Well, he has 12 hit points, so that is dead on enough to kill him 2 times over. How would you like to describe how you execute the poor guy?
Yeah, just while he's leaning over his meat, I'm just going to press the gun to his head and just shoot him like twice in the back of the head.
It's off mice and men.
Yeah, just look at the flowers. Bam!
Think about the meat.
His counter is suddenly just this red smear. And again, there's this little wobble as if for a moment he doesn't realize that he's actually keeled over and gone. There does seem to be that glimmer where there's this little fraction of life that clings on. And then he just slumps and hits the deck with blood smearing down, or blood and brain matter just smearing down the glass of the counter.
I did a sanity roll. I failed.
I'd say for violent death, I'd say that's D6.
Yeah, I think because as much as
You just shot a child. You're definitely making a sand check.
yeah, I know.
Just one.
I'm just in my head. I'm justifying because he would because he's not really a killer, Dr. Gross. And all he really wanted was to see how he just wanted to see the reactions rather than the actual.
Well, you found out.
Yeah,
Also
there is
passed the
definitely
Constitution.
Yeah, there is an emotional component to this transformation as well. So
Which is what he wanted to actually try and that's why I wanted to try and figure out because if we come across other people and we then know how far to push.
Clever.
And the child was sadly too far gone anyway, so by the looks of it. So
You could have put her in a cage or a padded cell, but she would have not been human.
That's a fail on my SAN by one because I got 12. I rolled a 12, but I have 11 sanity. So,
Yeah, give me that D6 for violent death, and
Good
maybe
gracious.
5.
Oh, Dr. Gross.
how would you like to flip out? Because
You know,
I think you're going to pass your intelligence roll.
Let's shoot all of us.
you know, you know what? I think he will just have a really emotional reaction because he's doesn't really kill very often. He's just killed a child, even though the child's not really human. I think I'll just burst out crying erratically rather than he's not going to go mad and start shooting the place up. I think Gross isn't. He's mad, but he's not that mad.
That seems
So yeah.
completely reasonable to me.
I succeeded my intelligence roll. So.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
sat there with the body of this poor kid that you've just executed for no fault of her own.
To be fair, I'll probably be holding the child and crying
Yeah,
over the child.
yeah, she's leaking all over your suit. You are just a sodden mess of red running down your front now. Bits of brain matter, her teeth maybe cutting away at your jacket as you're holding her tight, and yeah, you're just a soddy bloody mess.
And I wrap my arms around Dr. Gross and whisper in his ear and use psychoanalysis to try and at least bring him back to
I'd say psychoanalysis could do temporary alleviation. It wouldn't necessarily gain any sand
right.
back because that's like a month per roll to do that.
Right.
But it could bring him back to his senses. Yeah.
We got 13 out of 55, so that's actually a hard. I'm also saying some whatever they say for the
Last
two
rites.
dead people, the last
Yeah.
rites.
But yeah, you in which case, Dr. Gross, you can still have that overwhelming grief, but you are still capable of sane action. Then I'd
Okay.
say with that.
On that, I think when once the tears have started, I think Ben am gonna just double check the teeth and all of that of the child and
Oh yeah, she was definitely much more advanced, turning into a ghoul than the father was. There was no hiding it for her.
and check the dolly.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
dolly
this is
just seems like,
difficult to watch, so I walk out of the room.
if I don't see it, it's not sanity loss. But yeah, you
I
could turn
assume
your back and head into the main where you find Jean-Claude has sprayed the father's brains all over the front counter. So just more red.
Oswald, maybe since you're a military man, you should go outside and make sure no one curious civilians come in.
well, they sure would have heard the gunshots, so I think the police are on their way. So stick to the script, gents.
If you want to step out to a police box or to welcome the gendarme, I could lock the door behind you.
Yeah, sounds good.
But you're having a look at the dolly for Dr. Gross. Yeah, it looks like she had tried to ram either something, maybe a bit of scrap meat that she had then eaten herself. Afterwards, tried to push it into the doll's mouth, but because it's just a carved wooden doll, it didn't go anywhere. But yeah, otherwise, it's just a wooden dolly that no longer has someone to look after it.
so yeah, that level of it was also more for checking that level of psychosis that goes along with this as well. So
It looks like a well-worn, well-loved toy.
I will pop the toy on her body, and I will also try and find a sheet and just cover her body because she is only a child at the end of the day.
Yep, there's a spare apron, and as you cover it over, you can just see her eyes staring at you as you finally cover her over.
Yeah.
And the rest of you are heading outside to wait patiently for the police to turn up. Yes.
We have to cook up a good story.
Luckily they don't look remotely human, so that should simplify things. And then was warned in advance, so hopefully
You can
there's
make it look like a suicide.
Well, then we'd have to give up weapons.
Well, yeah, Dr. Gross would have to drop his revolver, but I don't think he has any attachment towards it.
No, because my father's revolver is back at home, so I'm not so bothered.
There you
The
go.
gun isn't even mine. I just took it from that lady yesterday.
You've got to rearrange the bodies a little so that it looks like he killed his daughter and then killed.
Again,
Himself.
and knew this was coming. So we really have to go through all these theatrics and make something artificial and presumably fake looking?
I'm just
Well-
assuming that the police is going to arrest us. They're going to take us in. We're going to spend a lot of time being questioned before N finally gets to clearing us.
And did also make it clear that if you could get out of this without having to for him to pull strings and make sure that you can be got out of the
Better.
police station, that would be better for him.
Yeah, let's just run.
I
Lock back
say
door.
arrange the bodies a little, leave the guns, run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Lock the back door.
George is going to have to put an apron on or something. He's covered with viscera. And we've got to carry this chunk of bacon out before the police department decides to take it back to barbecue.
Well, they're not going to. It's covered in gross.
It is covered in the gore of the butcher.
People
Having
are
a sample
quite
might not be
hungry.
the worst thing, though.
No, we should have it tested.
Yeah.
The whole back of this store is probably full of meat. So
Yeah,
we could just
actually
take a
in that
little
little crawl space that he opened up behind the counter, are there more samples of tainted meat?
There are 2 other large sides of bacon.
We gotta get
Which
these
were
out of
wrapped
here.
up.
Like we can leave the normal ones, but this can't stay.
We should also take his, some books. Wilson Meat Supplies, entries, dates, anything informational about that. We might have a specific contact at Wilson Meat Supplies.
You don't have too much time, you think, before the authorities will turn up. But if you want to quickly try to do a very quick visual inspection to try and find that kind of paperwork, you can give me spot hidden rolls to see if you can do so.
Oh, 23 is the hard.
Okay. You quickly go into the back and find there is, beyond the room where Jenny had been kept, there was a little brief area that's, I suppose you could call it a study. Essentially, it's a desk with one of those spikes that you've got on the edge of the desk that then you slam down receipts onto. Flicking through those and also a ledger next to it, you do, as you very quickly try to scan down it, you do see the name Wilson Meat Supplies on some of the receipts, and there is an address, but all you see is the name and think, right, that's at least something. You can grab that and run with it, and that will at least give you where the place is located.
Yeah, stuffed that in my pocket. We can actually throw the other bad meat, most of it, into the garbage. I don't think people are going to go back to the dead butcher's trash cans and take out bacon. But we want a chunk.
why don't you all run and I'll stay here? I'll say that he called me and wanted his confession heard, and then he committed suicide. He killed his daughter and committed suicide right in front of me. He'll
Okay, that
believe
sounds
me, I'm
like
a
plan.
priest.
And I'll leave
Yeah.
my gun.
Sounds good. It's the same caliber, so works.
Yeah, they're not going to be doing a great deal of deep investigation. I think it's a sound idea, Father. And again, the bodies are so deformed. And then we know what'll happen when they get to the hospital. All right.
Yeah.
Back door.
All right, I open the door for Mr. Spofford Harris.
All right. Again, I'm quite happy to truncate this into a little bit of a montage. Is as the 4 of you are legging it through the back mews round the back of the row of shops and the row of that shop and the adjoining residential properties. The father is outside as a couple of constables run up to see what's happened, and events pretty much play out as you expect. They ask what's happened. We've got reports of a gunshot. You give your cover story.
Yeah.
We can get an overcoat to throw over Gross's bloody suit. He probably had something in the back, you know.
Yeah, you can get easily something to cover over and hide the fact your front is a horrible mess.
Gross isn't too happy because he'll definitely be getting into a nice new suit, but he's also sad at the minute.
In fact, what is your size?
My size, 50.
Uh, it's a bit big for you then, but there is a coat that would fit a size 75 man out the back of the shop because Eddie was a big guy, as I described. His face was quite full, so yeah, he was a chunky boy. So you can easily grab a raincoat of his,
Yeah,
and that will you can wrap that around you quite adequately to hide any evidence of any red underneath. But yeah, without belaboring the point, I think the police will take a cursory statement from you, will believe you with the fact of what they see inside, and especially the method of the not execution, suicide in this case. They will basically take some details from you. Say if we do need to get in touch with you for a more comprehensive statement, we can do so. Obviously, this number for you, and they go through a very almost like lip service, but you're a man of the cloth. We believe you will get this sorted. So where would you five like to meet up afterwards?
Probably at the address of Daggett.
Okay, yeah, it's a little way from there. So that is, as
Well,
mentioned,
we'll all have to
Place.
get cleaned up first, but we're cleaned up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, it's probably a couple of hours from then. That gives you time to get somewhere discreet, freshen up, and
Hopefully before the bombs stop dropping. And
I mean,
Yeah.
this is not late, early afternoon by this point, or
Okay.
late morning. So you've got hours left yet. That's not a problem. So we'll say then you can congregate in Wilmot Place, Islington. So maybe waiting outside for looking around, just seeing who comes and goes, and then eventually waiting for the father to come up, and you're all five of you back together again, with nice sun up in the sky, relatively clear, not quite cloudless, but nice, picturesque, nice and bright. Yeah, like everything's nice and happy in the world. What could possibly be going wrong here?
I'm I think I'm mostly recovered, but the police seem to have took the statement that I made and believed me.
good thinking, Father. Dr. Gross, I don't envy your position, but you did what you had to be done.
it was just I needed to see the psychological impact of this. It helps us
Me.
when dealing with others, but I think we need to take a little bit of time.
Are you okay for the rest of the day?
Yeah, we will keep going, but yes.
Okay.
We have to find a way to stop this and maybe cure it if it's something like that. But they weren't human anymore. They were animals.
Whoever did this needs to be brought to justice.
Indeed. It does make me wonder too if this ghoul population, they might be more like us than we think. Many of them may be innocent and just a victim of. Those two were definitely victims.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that. I think after we've looked here, we need to get into the Wilson Meat Supply office and find out who they're distributing to.
Sound
Because
plan.
every one of those shops is going to have a branching tree of victims, like that poor child.
I hate to say it too, but I thought of something. You asked earlier about why would they increase their population? And the only thing I could think of was if you increase your population so that you have soldiers to fight a war, because you don't care if half of them get killed.
Yes, and but every soldier, every army needs a leader. So
Well, I know there's definitely a leader.
So you
And
think
this,
it could be some sort of like British military bioweapon?
well, I don't know.
No,
I
I
think
think
it
he's
might have
thinking
been
that these
the
ghouls are gonna rise
ghouls.
up and take over humanity.
Oh, not the actual army, but like a
Right.
and
For Dr.
metaphoric
Gross, as I mentioned, there was that hole that there was something that you weren't, that wasn't connecting up for you
connecting.
yet.
Yeah,
Uh, your father here just filled that gap. Because one thing that comes to mind for you is, yeah, there is something about ghouls. They don't call them pacts. They call them tribes. If there's the threat of a rival tribe, having more numbers means they can go to war with their adversaries. It might not be above ground.
so it could be. Father, you are a genius. I I've misremembered all my notes. I need to scribble that out. They're not packs. They're tribes, and they war other tribes. So maybe there are two different ghoul tribes in London right now, which would make sense. And they are going at war with each other.
That's I didn't even put that together myself, but yeah. The
Dr. Gross, would these be different bands of London ghouls, or have we been invaded by Nazi ghouls as well?
Not necessarily, but not necessarily. There are anywhere where there's a graveyard, there's most likely a ghouls. So they could
Local
be from
clans.
they could be from the countryside. They could be from a different aspect of London's big it and lots of cemeteries here, so they could be from all over the place.
I can't
and the
believe this.
ones from outside London would have always been envious of the ones in London because the ones in London have more food supply than
Do you have
And the Blitz is basically ringing the dinner bell.
And so maybe the ones from the country have come in to feed, and the ones in London have now got defensive and are trying to build their numbers, or vice versa.
so it's an
Over.
arms race of people who nibble on arms.
But then, is it just two tribes? There could be multiple, because, as I said, there's ghouls everywhere. It's basically could be like a gang war, two different criminal organizations going at each other. Think of them all.
Cardiff ghouls and Irish ghouls and Welsh
Yes.
ghouls. No.
I wonder if these ghouls are only loyal to their sire.
There'll
That
be a leader.
Yeah.
if there is such a thing as a sire, maybe whoever makes you a ghoul.
So we look
Who
for
knows?
at least two big individuals that surround ghoulish type activities, I guess, or could easily
well,
link.
Well, this woman might know, so let's see what's in her plat.
yeah, one thing I
Before
noticed was that they were both very protective over a certain individual or pseudo individual. The girl was protective over the doll, the guy was protective over his own daughter. So maybe there's some sort of protective instinct or like clannish instinct that arises during the transformation.
Kind of seemed like they were still human, but the animal was sort of taking over. Like, like, like you said, a pack. Dogs in a pack will kill to protect their own pack or tribe. Oh my goodness.
Jean-Claude, are you good at getting into places without breaking things?
I'm
My-
good at getting into places with breaking things.
I'm, you know,
I was going to question: has anyone got anything above base lockpick?
so right.
No.
Oh, I've got 10.
That's more than one, which I think is what it starts at.
Yes, that is more than base.
All right. In which case, for a worrying moment, those four of you that are looking amongst each other, going, "Okay, who's gonna boot the door down?" when Melvin can whip out a paperclip and start to fumble with the lock. It's essentially just that more of a tense moment of there's the four of you standing like a human shield around Melvin so that no one can see what he's doing. But then you can click with a little bit of effort, you can get the lock open.
All right, well,
Yeah,
good.
and you can head inside.
How big a how big a building is it? How many units?
It's not very big. There's a living room, a kitchenette, a bedroom, a bathroom. It's a standard
Oh,
layout.
oh, so she's got a standalone little
Yeah,
townhouse?
yeah. There's about another three apartments on this floor, three or four apartments on this floor. So it's the building that she's in. This will be like one not wing of it, but one side of the building.
Right. The
A nice
downstairs was
flat.
open, and we just had to pop into her flat, which is a simple lock, like a turn jobby.
Yeah, you just head up to she's on the third
Yeah.
floor. So if you head upstairs, you just have to make sure that no one in the corridor sees you, which again, that's you've got four people to act as human shields there, so not an issue. And no one is coming and going at this point. It is a nice quiet building. Yeah, you can get inside and then shut the door behind you and standing there for a moment listening to silence just to make sure, is there anyone else here or is there someone lurking around? You are convinced that you are the only living people in the apartment.
Is it a fairly nice area?
Yeah, it's certainly not a lower class environment. No, I'd say this is middle class. There's a good degree of refinement here and a good degree of keeping up appearances. The place is nice, neat, and tidy to a point.
Remember to tap out my pipe. We should all remember not to smoke while we're here.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little faint smell of must in the air. Maybe it hasn't been cleaned particularly. It's tidy from what you can see in the hallway that leads into the different rooms, but there is that kind of smell of yeah, it's a bit dusty in here. Like someone maybe hasn't cleaned up in a while, but it looks tidy at least.
She's been otherwise occupied. Um, well, Dr. Gross, you should go to the bookshelf. I'm curious. I'll start in the bedroom.
Okay, we'll do the bedroom first because that's quick. The bedroom is a double bed that's in there. You can see on one side there's a couple of bedside tables. There's a lamp on one of them, and then on the other there is a nice silver framed picture of a man and a woman. You recognize the woman because you've seen
Grace
Grace
Daggett.
already, and there is a man in uniform next to her. Looks like a First World War officer's uniform. Obviously, that nice happy pose with husband and wife. Um, Otherwise, the bed is unmade. Looks like it hasn't been changed. The sheets haven't been changed for at least a few days.
It
But
also looks like only one person's been sleeping in it for a while. There's a deeper indentation on one side.
correct. Yeah.
Definitely a widow.
A nail on the head. Whack.
Yeah. Let me guess. Just quest for vengeance. Mutilated herself with those tattoos to hunt. So one of these ghouls probably killed her husband or something.
Or the German forger was involved, or who knows? What
Well,
else?
she
Or
did have
she's
a
part of
list.
some cult?
I'm interested in how she learned that black magic.
In the bedroom, you do notice there is a wardrobe in one corner, but it's locked.
Hmm. Start fiddling again.
Okay. Because it's a wardrobe, it doesn't take that much effort. Hell, you could even probably break this open with a bit of force. But your trusty paperclip can get you inside there. Yeah, this isn't a wardrobe. I mean, it was a once upon a time, but it's not now. It's a weapons cabinet. So it contains a number of there's knives, koshes, axes. There's a double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun in there, ammunition for a shotgun and a revolver. But I think you've got, or rather, Jean-Claude had the revolver before leaving it at the not honest murder scene. Gov. There's also what looks to be three rusty bear traps in dire need of repair. These things haven't been used for a while, so they've started to rust up. There is maybe some hints of some old stained blood on them.
Hmm.
I'll let out a whistle. Someone radicalized you.
Mm. Yeah, this is definitely tooled up like a good old monster hunting equipment.
Well,
Uh,
I'd hate
Meanwhile,
to.
someone was. Oh, sorry, go on.
I'd hate to waste. I'll grab the double-barreled shotgun.
Well, I mean, Grace is going to survive, we hope, and want her arsenal. We don't want to alienate her by stealing her things. We just want to get information we can, well,
Do we think
urgently.
she's worth recruiting?
I don't
I
think
think-
she's in a position to be killing monsters for the next few months.
I agree with you, Jean-Claude.
But I think it's a shame that Anne didn't find her before she found Barry.
I
This
think
woman
she's
seems like she knows something.
I think she's a good
Wonder-
resource.
I wonder if N is aware of a ghoul hunting group.
I mean, this looks like a solo operation, right?
It looks like this is a personal vendetta to some extent, but it's worth asking him.
As you say that, I think this is a good segue into kind of wrapping up for the session. We'll go into Dr. Gross because he was given the objective, go look at the bookshelves. So there's not really much else of locations in the apartment where bookshelves could be. So you head into the living room and you open the door and it suddenly becomes, so this is where the mess is in the house. This has been turned into a converted study. So sofa's been pushed back to one side. There's a desk at the far wall with the curtains that have been pulled across. But there's then a thin sliver of light which comes into the room. And you can see there's numerous bits of paperwork scattered on the desk that's got loads of handwritten notes. So going through this is going to be a bit of a literary puzzle or jigsaw puzzle to try and work out how this all fits together. But there's two things that your eyes are drawn to particularly. One, it looks like it's almost been used as a paperweight on the desk. It's a skull with a distended front. It's very much a ghoul skull that has been removed, polished, and then laid there with kind of a semi-degree of, it's utilitarian now. I'm certainly not paying it any reverence. But propped up against it is a book that looks like it is full of tabs of paper and bookmarks that spray out from the sides of it. But it's a title that, even though it's in French, you are familiar with for the title because you've seen this title in N's notes before. Cult de Ghoul. And beneath that, there is a drawer, which is then open, which you can see that it looks blatantly like there's some kind of fold. There's more paperwork in the drawer, but it almost looks like a bottom that's not quite at the right angle, as if something is tried very badly to be hidden underneath the false bottom in the drawer.
Well, yes, I check in there.
Yeah. And you open it up, and there's two things you find. There's one that looks like a notebook or address book, rather, that a quick flick through it, there's a whole load of names, addresses, and nearly all of them have been crossed out. You can only find two names which haven't been crossed, and they're fairly towards the front of the book. Pretty much everyone else after the first 3 pages is just gone. The two names and addresses are Kenneth Hodge and Nancy Wayne. And then the larger book that's hidden underneath the false bottom of the drawer is what looks to be a large photo album. So leather bound, and casually flicking through the front page when you open it up just has, in nice stylized, almost copperplate red ink, the rat catchers on the inside the inside cover, and then the pictures that you have. All of them, that if you were to take they're mounted in these little like corner frame pieces where they hold the photo to the page but don't glue it in place. So you can pull them out and you can see they're dated on the back. So they're dated, and there's also some names on the back as well. But yeah, it just follows through that you can then identify when the oldest photo is in there. And the photos start from the mid 1920s. Continuing through until the 1940s, so 1940 exactly, because that's the year you're in, towards the back of the book. And you can see this bunch of nice, happy souls, investigators, that are grouped together. standing over in pose with various weapons like either baseball bats, clubs, pokers, shotguns, over the remains of ghouls that they have them looks like they have brought down, almost like they're big game hunters standing over their trophies. Then you start to wind forward a few years. Some of those features become a bit more drained as folks get older. They become a bit more damaged. Folks have maybe some fights with ghouls haven't gone too well, and they're starting to show a bit rough around the edges. Then the number of people in the photo starts to get a bit less, and a bit less, and then the condition of the ghoul trophies that are left there are becoming more and more battered. Like the battle that's been waged against them is turning into just full-on bloody slaughter, and there's no organized fight happening anymore, and there's just these broken, drained remnants of this investigator organization that was that seemingly found to try and meet the ghoul threat head on, until there's just two people left in the final photo, just with this depressed, broken, beaten, and almost resigned expressions on their faces. And that, I think, is where we will leave it for tonight.
It's a good story. Our players included Max Meltzer, Josh Harwood, Alex Sun, David Gasaway, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as the Keeper of Arcane Lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. Support for the show is provided by our patrons who are listed in the closing credits. If you'd like to show us your appreciation, please visit our Patreon page, or you can use the thanks button just below the screen. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the World War Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.